Okay, I accidentally turned off my camera. So I'm measuring the intake ports here, and then just a couple of remarks for performance purposes, and then we'll be done. Okay, my vernier tells me that the width on the intake port comes out at an even 1.2, and the height. You know, there's all sorts of different intake gaskets that you can buy for a lot of these. You know, even Oldsmobile with its sort of sheet metal intake manifold that you buy separately. You can also buy the standard traditional ones made out of composite if you don't want to run that valley gasket. So sizes, of course, vary. Okay, the height on the intake ports is 2.270 or so. That's pretty tall. Which reminds me that I want to just caution you. They say that on the Edelbrock heads, which these are patterned after, I believe, that on a small block, the only intake manifold where the ports are going to actually work right is the Edelbrock Performer RPM, which I believe is EDL 7111 part number. So I'm going to have to come up with one of those. If you try to use the Edelbrock Performer or a stock intake, you're going to come up short. You're not going to match your intake ports, and there isn't enough material to grind out to do a good match. Okay, so your intake manifold, small block guys, your intake manifold choices with these heads are limited. I'm sure a Victor would fit too, but I definitely don't want to go that direction. Just as your compression ratio is limited, right? So only so many of you small block guys even want to consider these heads. Now, the other good news with these heads, by design, that I like is no exhaust crossover. We all know how, I think, well, if you've watched one of my other videos, you know that the Edelbrock, the intake manifold is heated on an Oldsmobile, and it's got those gas lines that come up right under the carburetor, feeding exhaust gas into your carburetor mixture stream, and that just kills power. So here you don't have to deal with that at all. You don't have to fill them with aluminum. They're just not there in the first place. So you run an unheated intake. You're going to make more power with better atomized fuel, and of course that also takes away the passage into the center exhaust ports, which compromises power too. One last thing is some of you guys are going to wonder about the oil control, the oil drain back on these. We all know that one of the problems with the stock Oldsmobile oiling system is it sends a lot of oil into the top end of the engine, and then it doesn't drain back very well, which I believe, I have to infer here, that's why Oldsmobiles have 10 valve cover bolts and these have them. Okay, so that they don't leak with all that oil up here. And so I was hoping when I ordered these, you can't tell from the pictures they give you, that the oil return on the aftermarket heads would be a bit of improvement, at least bigger passages back down to the bottom end, or there'd be more of them or something, and there aren't. You got big push rod holes, of course, and by the way, I use the roller rockers. I mocked up my assembly. I've got the roller rockers here, which are a Magnum kind of knockoff, and these are for Ford. They're 1.7 ratio, and they fit. They appeared to be playing well. They clear the retainer, no problem, and I think they're going to work. They seem to center themselves over the push rod holes very well and all that. Anyway, you got nice big push rod holes that help with that, but as far as oil drain back, these are at the top, in a V engine. They're not going to help you drain the oil back unless you completely fill that rocker box, which is wrong. So the oil drain back holes are down here, and they appear to me to be just about like the stock ones. I don't think they're very much bigger, and they're not going to do any better of a job. So you still got to do things like run roller rockers in a performance engine. I don't know what to tell you about that. That seems to be a design limitation of an Oldsmobile. The one thing I will say is that when you get your head gasket, check it very carefully, because a lot of times what they do is they obstruct even further that oil drain back. And so you might want to do a little work to your head gasket before you bolt it on. I certainly will. Any other measurements I want to take for you guys I can think of? No, I think that's about it. All right, thanks for your attention, fellas.